Hello, friends. Another week of Mental Health Mondaze, which means you and I both made it another week in this crazy, crazy world. Guess this week just want to get right into it because last time I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't, but that was more just an introduction of what the fuck this could and hopefully will become. And now we're just going to actually start to develop out some of these ideas that I have. First thing I want to talk about is I talked to my mom this week. Always do. Shout out Mama Dukes. Love her to death. She's the fucking best. And I'm so lucky to have her as a support system. She's the best. If you know my mom, you know her. If you know my mom, you know her. If you know my mom, you know how amazing she is. And she's been through more than anyone she's been through more than anyone could possibly fathom, I think. And she's a better person for it. And she's one of my best friends. So anyways, I was talking to my mom. And she is a great support. But one of the things she said to me on the phone this week when we were talking about this kind of stuff was, she was like, I don't understand why your generation is just so damn anxious. She was kind of being facetious and like joking about it. But she was like, my generation just never seemed to have these types of problems with anxiety and depression and stuff. And it was like a record skip on the phone conversation. She was like, are you nuts? Yeah. Look around you. Of course my generation is super fucking anxious. First of all, I think it's kind of like with another thing we all just dealt with and are still dealing with, where once you start looking for it more, you start finding it more. But that could be, that's a good thing. I'm sure that millions of people in the previous generations suffered from mental health that people are just like, oh, they're fucking crazy, or they just toughed it up and sucked it up. And I think there's some strength to that. I think that there is some importance in like powering through when you feel like you can't and getting your shit done. You got to get your shit done. At the end of the day, mental health is absolutely your most important thing that you need to deal with is your mental health and your mental well-being. But with that said, the world is going on without you or with you. So you can't, I don't know, I guess that's just part of like dealing with things, coping with things, is like getting to a point where you can not be in your best place mentally and still get shit done. And I know it's not easy. And obviously we all have days where that's just not possible. But I think the goal is to not let days turn into weeks, turn into months. And some people can't. I've definitely been in a place where I couldn't do that. Still sometimes it's like, I wouldn't mind just laying in bed being sad for 8 hours. That sounds fucking great. But sometimes you can't do that. So I think their generation, I should say, definitely there was a little bit more stick-to-itiveness, a little bit more tough love, which I think, again, in the right doses is important and helpful. I think sometimes you do need someone to be like, listen, you're fucking fine. Let's get shit done. You gotta do your shit, whatever that might be. But the flip side of that is plenty of people in her generation are not okay now because of that exact reason, because of people never taking the time to, all right, back. I think on the flip side, it's a negative thing, because there are plenty of examples of people from that generation and ours, but specifically that generation who were constantly told, suck it up and, keep it moving. And now they're not okay as adults. And maybe they passed on negative things to their children, in effect. And it's just like this vicious cycle that keeps going with mental health because of it not being addressed and treated at a young age. And also in, the prime of your life from your 20s to your 40s. Just ignoring it is certainly not a good idea, which I think most people from that generation did. I just think that we have to find some sort of happy medium. I'm really fat right now, sorry. We have to find some sort of happy medium between, listen, I need help, I need time, and also, okay, it's time to turn on the happy playlist, take off the sad one, and get moving. Because again, like, at least for me, there have been many times where like I go through cycles of intense depression where I'm not getting anything done. I'm just literally ordering pizzas and fucking crushing them to myself, and I never like I'm not even an emotional eater, but like it's like fuck it, I don't care, you know. Just like eating horrible food, sitting and sulking, and like I guess it's different for everyone. For me, it's not like I put on like I don't know. It's not like I'm putting on a rom-com because I'm sad about my boyfriend dumping me, but like that kind of thing. There's, yeah, that's fine, but you have to get to a point where it's like, all right, stop that shit. Look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I got this. I got this. I got this. That's when your support system comes in ultimately too. And I know we're not all fortunate to have a good support system. That's what this is for. And that's also what therapy is for. And some people maybe need to be on medication, which I'm certainly not opposed to. I know that I said that I'm cycling off of mine, which I am. I'll get into that in a moment. But I think that it certainly helps a lot of people. There's no denying it. It's just like I prefer beer over wine. You might prefer wine over beer. I just like what beer does for me more so than wine. Same thing with medication. It's your body. Everyone's body's different. Everyone's surroundings are different. So of course it's not going to work for everyone. But I do think that sometimes it can be very helpful. It's been very helpful for me for a long time. That's another thing. I'm sure that the previous generations have certainly, another reason I guess, that our generation I think has suffered so greatly from anxiety and depression is I think that we were the first generation where they were just stuffing medicine in the kids. I mean, like, he's too hyper, he's too distracted, he's too sad. Like, boom, 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 give him stuff. And rather than deal with the core real issues. And I'm not saying that everyone who's anxious now was medicated as a child or anything like that, like anyone in this this generation. But I guess what I'm saying is when you look at the overall picture of everything and you see, like, everyone knows the fucking hyper kid that was on Ritalin in elementary school. And it's like, looking back on it, is that the answer? Probably not. And I guess that kind of has to do with mental health as well. And just all these things. We were the first generation, I feel like, I don't know, I didn't live before I lived. But like with fucking just shoving fast food into children and sugary drinks and candy and our fucking cartoons just screaming colors in our eyes. And then, once we got old enough, boom, right here in our hand all day is fucking the worst stimulation possible, whether it be like not just cyberbullying, but just like negative influence from other people you know that are your age when you're young. I remember being on Facebook when I was younger and like, I don't know, it's just the whole like FOMO, fear of missing out thing. It's constantly in our face. The previous generation never had to deal with that. Imagine how fantastic it sounds. You make plans with a friend, call up a friend, and you're like, hey, 7 o'clock, fucking Joe's fucking smoking dough. Don't know what that means. Be there or be square. You show up 7:15 if you're cool. Which obviously I'd be there at 7:15 because I'm cool. And there's your friends. Not like, are you going? I'm almost here. Like, we have to be here at this time. Oh, look who's there. Did you check his Insta story? I don't know why I immediately turned into like an 18-year-old girl, but you get the point. That, I think, has been such a factor in our generation's just downfall when it comes to mental health. Is like, whether you're consciously comparing yourself to other people your age or not, the constant comparison of just looking through everyone who seems so happy and their lives have no problems. Obviously, that's not the case. We know that's not the case. But when you see that and you see maybe someone who has physical attributes that you don't have, or someone who has monetary gains and accomplishments that you haven't gotten yet, of course, your brain is going to compare. Of course, we're natural. We're human creatures, man. We get envious. We get jealous. That's not good for your mental health. That mixed with like, yo, did you see this guy get fucking stabbed at a Bad Bunny concert on World Star. It's like, oh, really? Let me see. Oh, yo, speaking of which, want to see this guy's arm get shattered in half on fucking this page? Oh, yo, want to dive deep into the cartel beheading videos? We've all been there, right? But all this stuff I feel like previous generations weren't exposed to. I could be at 45 minutes right now. I have no idea. Who cares? Previous generations weren't exposed to as much as us. No question. Speaking of my mom's generation specifically, she's in her 50s, late 50s, which is crazy. I'm getting fucking old. Obviously, they had the news. She was like the first generation where it was like world news nightly. Every day you could see war on television. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. Then you keep going, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. I remember during the Boston Marathon bombings, my mom and I sitting there watching every second of them trying to catch this piece of shit that was responsible. And like, that's fine. But at the same time, when that is constant and that's the kind of shit you're getting fed, there's no way that's good for our brains. So it's just all these little things like over-medicated shit, feeding our kids terrible garbage, social media generation, constant comparison to others, constant feedback, whether positive or negative, like the bloviated sense of self, the ego being overinflated is certainly worse in our generation. And of course it's going to make kids anxious. But on top of that, normal feelings of anxiety or depression that have been since the dawn of time are just getting recognized more efficiently now, which is fantastic. That's good. That's a good thing. So when my mom asked me or said to me, I just don't understand why your generation's so anxious, those were all the things that ran through my head in about 2 seconds. And they came out in the form of, what the fuck? Because I can swear to my mom because she's cool. Just kidding. All right. That was a lot. Looking back on it, don't know if any of that made sense, but I think it might have. Hope you got something from it. That was just something I noticed this week because you hear it a lot. Like, oh, this new generation, it's like, dude, look at the fucking hand we're dealt. All right, man. Like, the 70s and 80s were awesome to grow up in. For some people. Obviously, horrible things happen. But what I'm saying is, as far as the natural, like, growing up arc in that time period, it just was, I mean, they're the first to say, like, God, back in my day, this, that, and the third. It's like, I kind of fucking agree. I had a great childhood. Like, I wouldn't replace it for anything. But just the way they grew up was so different. It was so, like, the world was in a much different place, much better place. Or it wasn't, and they just weren't exposed to it constantly. I think that has a huge effect on the mental health of us, this generation. I mean, you could be any age watching this, but I assume you're probably around my age if you're fucking paying attention to me. But, yeah, there's a couple thoughts. See, last time I was very self-conscious afterwards about how much I was going like this looking because I wrote some stuff out, and it made more sense, but I was not looking at the camera. Now I'm self-conscious because what I said definitely didn't just make any sense, but I'm staring at the camera like I'm Walter Cronkite, so it's a little weird. But now I got a little notebook. Okay. But I'll get to that other stuff because all right. About me this week, because that's what a lot of this is too, is like a personal journal. I'm talking about my journey, even though I hate that term. My journey. Anyways, good band. After last Monday, I felt fantastic. I felt so good. I don't really know. I guess I do know. I think releasing this like was almost like a weight off my shoulders. Like, I don't know. Like I got a lot off my chest, but also the feedback and the outpouring of like, wow, this is an amazing thing. Just felt so good. It really did. It made me feel so good. Shout out to everyone who responded to my Instagram stories, all the questions and stuff. I'll definitely get to that stuff. I just kind of didn't have time. The week went by pretty quick. But regardless, just the outpouring of people being like, this is a great idea. Thank you for doing this. Again, as I mentioned the first week, if you saw, it's surprising to me because, one, people that I know well, it's one thing if someone I don't know that well is like, oh, I deal with this. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know you. I don't see you every day. So, like, yeah, I'm sure you do. People you know well come to you and are like, oh, hey, man, saw your thing. Awesome. I'm dealing with da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, whoa. I'm someone who is hyper conscious of these things, and I never knew. I never saw it. I had no idea that you were on medicine. Like, all these things. So it was really nice hearing from people to say that. Also, it's like, it was like a way to mass text all of my friends, like, hey, how you doing? Because if they weren't doing good, they hit me up. And or if they weren't at one point doing good and are doing better now, they hit me up for sure. So that was kind of nice. It made me feel really good. But then, like, you know, the fucking grind of the week comes, and it's just like, all right, Monday I released this, or I guess technically it was Tuesday. Great. Wednesday, still kind of riding the high of like, oh, you know, this is going to be an awesome new adventure and all that. And then Thursday, Friday, like, it just, I know I mentioned it last time. I don't really know why. Like, I don't know if it's, I know it's a combination of all the things going on in my life right now, but I don't know which one is to blame the most. So, like, I don't know if it's mostly because I went from 150 milligrams of antidepressants to 100 milligrams. Obviously, that changes your brain. It changes your every day, like your inner workings, gums up the works. I'm so happy I said that. I've been thinking of that phrase all week. But on top of that, all the other shit, I just don't know which one's to blame most. And then, like, honestly, last night was horrible. I don't even really know where to start. I don't know. I'm supposed to be open and transparent. That was the lowest I've felt in a long, long, long time. I'll say that. That's where I'll start. Just some things got triggered in my head. I don't really know why. I really don't. It's like slowly shit just adds up, and it's like, oh, how about you think of every negative thought you've ever had all at once now that one bad thing happened? And it's like, oh my God, fuck, here we go. You know, it's like sometimes I feel it coming and there's no escaping it. Just the like, specifically for me, again, there's a million different forms of mental health and anxiety and stuff, but specifically for me, with the depersonalization stuff, it seems like when I get in one of those modes, it's like I have 5 different streams of consciousness going at once, and I can't grab on to one of them to just like, all right, pull it in, think about that one. And like, honestly, last night, and it's happened before, when there's 5 voices in your head, it's my voice, so I'm not making fun of, like, I'm not making light of schizophrenia or any sort of really severe mental health issues where people actually hear voices. But through my eyes, in my universe that I live in, it was like hearing that many voices at once. It was like, am I fucking losing it? It really felt like that. Like, I really had finally that was the one voice that shined through, and it was like, am I going fucking nuts? Have I finally cracked? Is it all down here? It's true. It's happening now. Is it all downhill for old Frank? That's what I kept thinking in my head. Like, fuck, dude. Like, this can't be normal. I kept thinking that. Like, this is not normal. That was severe because it was severe. It's not like, it wasn't like the day-to-day anxiety and struggles that I deal with. That was like legitimate, like, dude, gather yourself, man. I don't necessarily need to get into or want to, although I'm trying to preach, like, be open, it's okay, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Some personal things happened that kind of spiraled. And all I wanted to do was go to bed. It was late, luckily, so it wasn't weird to go to bed. It wasn't like 3 in the afternoon this happened, and it was like, I gotta go to bed. It was late, went to bed. I don't think that I really properly dealt with it at all. I just finally got tired enough to sleep it off. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's like, the first thought in your head is, oh yeah, that happened last night. That fucking stinks on ice. And, I leaned on the people that care about me most this morning, and it fucking helped. It really tremendously helped. And just slowly throughout the day, things got better, and I was able to adjust my frame of mind of like, all right, well, that happened, and that's okay. Those things will happen. It's very likely going to happen again at some point in my life, because this is something I'm going to have to deal with every day. It's a constant process. There's no immediate cure of dealing with anxiety or depression. Unfortunately, man, it's work. It's like a fucking dogfight every day when you're at war with your head. I don't think people who don't deal with things... First of all, I'm so jealous. But I can't even imagine... Or I don't think people who don't deal with mental health struggles understand what it's like to be afraid of your own thoughts. Afraid of your own inner monologue. Because from 1 second to the next, it can switch from you are the greatest person who's ever walked on earth, to you're the lowest scum of all time. Everything you're doing is a waste. Nothing you're doing matters. This is all for nothing. And trying to balance, again, not considering yourself crazy and just thinking, all right, these are thoughts I'm having. This is okay. Trying to decipher that in the midst of being depressed and anxious is really fucking hard. It's really hard. It's really hard to be what? I don't know. It's hard to control your own brain sometimes, which is fucking nuts. That's been my quest from day one of dealing with this stuff, is I want to be in control. I want to be in control of my thoughts and my emotions. Obviously, there's a certain aspect of you are not in control at all, but there are things you are, like I said last week, there are things you are in control of. Your thought process should probably be one, but for me at least, it seems like sometimes I'm not in control of that, which is fucking frightening. And it's something I'm working on. It's something I'm talking to people about. But also, I think that this stream of consciousness thing really actually is helpful to someone who's a creative person. In some ways, it's fucked up. I'm not saying it's healthy to be this depressed, damaged artist. I don't think that's good. I don't think we should glorify that or romanticize it, even though all of our heroes die early or kill themselves or overdose. I don't think we should romanticize it, but there's definitely some truth to that kind of mind being more creative in a lot of ways. So right now I'm kind of trying to juggle maybe I'm one of the chosen few. Maybe I'm just crazy enough to make great art, but also be but I'd rather be happy. And also accepting that my art's not going to suffer if I'm happy and calm and not depressed every day. I don't know. That was a lot, man. I don't fucking know what I'm talking about now, but last night stunk. It really did, man. So the things like I said, it was late, so it was not weird to want to go to bed at that point. But the incident, I'll say, just fucking tuckered me out like a newborn babe. I was ready to hit the hay, man. I was wow, this just fucked my whole body up. So I did. And as I said, today was a better day. I was driving home from the grocery store a couple hours ago, and there's a line for a concert. There's a theater next to my grocery store in Koreatown. And interesting looking folk, to say the least. And it was nice. It was that helped me. Looking out and being oh, those are people living life. And I don't know what any of them are going through. But there they are, fucking Sunday night. Oh shit, it's supposed to be Monday on this video. Well, I recorded the day before. Now you know. There they are, Sunday night, gonna be fucking tired, hungover at work tomorrow. But it's this band they fucking love is in town, so they're gonna go. and just people smiling, happy online to go to the concert. The exit from the concert is always different. There's one dude's like, dude, I lost my drunk friend, and fuck, and like, or like, that band kind of stunk, and I loved them, and now my image of them is ruined. But on the way to the concert, it's always good vibes. You know, maybe you're drinking a little bit, doing your thing beforehand, and it just like made me happy. Which is funny because it was like a goth concert, but I was listening to Marvin Gaye, so it was kind of a fun juxtaposition of like, it's like when you see those videos of like Hasidic Jewish people dancing to like Waka Flocka, the best. Nothing against either one of those groups, Hasidic Jewish people or Waka Flocka, but the two don't mix, so it's fucking funny. Same thing as seeing these people who are like, you know, in fucking 6-inch platform combat boots and like black eye makeup, and me listening to Marvin Gaye. It was great. It was fun. But those, you know, it just like brought me back down to earth a bit after a really tough night and a slowly better day. That was like the cherry on top of like, oh, what does it all matter, man? Calm down. It's okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to be just fine. So I was excited to come home and do this. Plumbing got fixed today too. Great. Another thing to be happy about. Don't have to, I don't even want to say what we've been dealing with over here with the plumbing. Disgusting though. It's a 100-year-old house. Everything's beautiful and brand new. Not the plumbing, not the pipes. Finally they fixed it today. Another thing to be happy about. I can take a shit in peace. Don't have to worry about anything else. That's fucking great. So, you know, it's just a weird week. It was a lot of ups and downs. I guess that's what life is though. And I think the easier we can accept that, the easier it is to move forward and get ready for the next ups and downs, man. It's all gonna be okay. It really is all gonna be okay. That's something that usually I've trained myself. I've progressed to a level of when I'm in one of those modes of like being super depressed or super anxious, or I don't know what to call it. I said episode. Having like an episode like I did last night. I have been so good at being like, dude, it's okay. But last night wasn't one of those times, and it took me a little longer. So today, I had the ability to be like, dude, it's okay. You're okay, man. You're not crazy. You're not crazy for being depressed. You're not crazy for being anxious. This is a thing millions of people deal with. They're not all crazy. We might have crazy moments, but it doesn't have anything to do with anxiety or depression. That's just, some people are a little wacky. I'm a little wacky. You might be a little wacky. But, you know, those feelings that I had of having all these fucking different thoughts in my head at the same time, while a song is playing, while, not even kidding, while thinking about, sweaty armpits, while thinking about some commercial I saw earlier in the day. Like, I'm on the midst of like having a mental breakdown, very depressed, and then also like, wow, I saw that JG Wentworth call 877 Cash Now commercial for the first time in years today, all at the same time. That's the type of shit that'll make you feel crazy. But I'm not crazy for having those thoughts. It's okay. It's all going to be okay. Just got to breathe, man. Gonna be all right. I did something better. What time are we at? I don't even fucking know. This is crazy shit. Oh my God. Way more than I thought. Whatever. I can do whatever I want because I'm the master of my own domain. Something I did better in this episode than last time, although I did call myself fat earlier, is less negative talk. Jay told me, a couple other people, like, hey, you kept calling yourself a fat idiot. See, I think it's funny, though. So I'm trying to balance. It's a tough one. It's another balancing act. Balance beam. I'm trying to balance. I think that's funny. A lot of funny people, comedians and shit, are very self-deprecating. They're the most self-deprecating. But I also know it's harmful to talk about yourself negatively like that. But I think it's funny. So I'm trying to separate on my process to being enlightened and calm and happy. Separate, like, oh, I'm saying this to be funny. I know it'll get a laugh, or like I'll chuckle at it. And separate that from I'm saying this to as like a defense mechanism because I'm unsure of myself, and now I'm putting myself down for no reason, because I know I'm good. I'm a good person. I am pretty smart. I'm not too bad looking. I'm pretty talented, and when it comes to music, I got a lot of passions and hobbies. There's nothing negative about me to that I could say about myself. Someone else might have their opinion. That's fine. But also, I think it's funny. So it's tough. Like, if I call myself a fat, bald bastard, that's funny. But also, if I call myself a fat, bald bastard, it's like, oh, man, don't be so hard on yourself. So that's something I did better this week. That's all it's about. It's doing better week to week. I'm going to try to stay conscious of that. Maybe I'll have a counter after this episode. Not on this one. I don't feel like doing it. But after this episode, counter of how many times I say something bad about myself. Like, I'm a fucking idiot, so I don't really know what I'm saying, but I guess this sounds good. That would be one, I guess. Because I was imitating myself, negatively speaking about myself, but by imitating myself in that way, I was negatively speaking about myself. A little inception there. Listen, it's been 30 minutes. This is too many times, too many stuffs, too many minutes. But if you made it through, I don't know if this made sense. I really don't. But also, when you're an anxious, depressed person, sometimes your thoughts don't make sense. So I'm just getting them out. Maybe some of them stick to you and maybe some of them don't. I really appreciate anybody who watches and listens to this. And also, I hope that I'm helping you in some way. I really do. You can talk to me. I've now made it a mission to be able to talk to people who are also hurting, which is funny because, like, I'm bad at answering people. Another thing I'm trying to get better at. But with this, it's like different. It's like, oh yeah, it's like I'm really trying to like harbor a community of people who need someone. There's other outlets for it for sure, but I think maybe with like my specific, like being a musician and an artist and trying to do that whole thing, maybe it'll kind of bring people in from that perspective more so than just like, hey, I need to talk to a random person I'm really going through it. But thank you again. I hope we see each other again next week. I gotta always remind myself that I got this. You gotta remind yourself that you got this, and if not, we got this. We got each other. Continue to support each other. Thank you very much. New episode next week. Humane EP coming even sooner than you think, or than I think. Hopefully. We'll see. All right. Thank you.